Hello, everybody. It is June 2nd, 7 o'clock, 7:01 p.m. EST. Happy Pride Month. You're watching The Dovecote with Lee from Riverhouse Games. Lee, say hello and introduce yourself to our lovely audience.
Hello, and introduce yourself to the lovely audience.
Oh,
I'm
God.
Lee. I
You got me.
uh, I do Riverhouse Games. It's got a fun, fancy title, but it's just me. Um, I write games. There's like 30 some that you can go get at riverhousegames.itch.io. I also, for a while, produced and hosted Game Closet, which was an informal chat show with queer and LGBT plus folks in the tabletop space. And I have not done either of those things in multiple years because I have been going to law school, and that plus working full time kills my brain a lot. So I rarely get to do fun things like this anymore, just because of mental bandwidth. But yeah, thank you for having me on.
Yeah, of course. I believe that well, I immediately knew who you were just based on some of the things and games that you've made. But I was not aware that that you were contactable, I suppose, until
Yeah.
Aaron King connected us, who former a friend of the show, former guest. Um,
hmm
so I am curious about that. I think that's what I'm going to open with, just because it is a thing that is intriguing in a world of like design influencing. You are very at least from my perspective, you don't have much of a social media presence.
Yeah, that's very intentional. Um, and this is like kind of a bummer, but it led into one of the best decisions that I've made in my life, which is getting the hell off of Twitter. Um, I ran a Kickstarter. It was the Kickstarter for the treasure at the end of this dungeon is an escape from this dungeon, and we will never escape from this dungeon.
Hmm.
Uh, and that happened like right at the start of the pandemic.
Oh,
So my life was like really upended in the same way that every American's, every global person's life was upended by a global lockdown and like huge societal disruptions. Um, and like all of the super backers on Kickstarter apparently did not get the memo. Um,
oh,
and like this is a broad phenomenon. Like super
yeah,
backers on Kickstarter are a problem for like game creators just in general. Um, but like trying to fulfill and like wrangle like more than a dozen other creators, because like we were funding the expansion for the game Fractals, which is a kaleidoscopic supplement, which was really cool. I got to commission like a ton of my favorite designers at the time, including friend of the show Aaron King,
hell yeah.
um, to like make selves and rooms for Treasure Dungeon. Um, and so that was awesome, but it meant like managing 15 different people and their workflow and everything. Um, and like I feel like I just wish a lot of people talking about creative projects on social media like maybe thought for a second that like that shit's kind of hard, and maybe hitting that request and update button every time that you log into Kickstarter probably not the best idea. Um, if that was it, if that was all that happened, I think, you know, I probably would have just said like, hey, this sucks, but I'm still gonna do things.
Mhm.
Um, because like that was my second Kickstarter. I had done one earlier, which
Mhm.
we got like almost done with, and then a couple of people, a couple of the guest writers had allegations come to light about them, and so I just
Oh
kind of
yeah.
like quietly shuttered that. um, but then so Treasure Dungeon is like done kickstarting. I'm like trying to work with people. Some phenomenal writing in that book. Um, and there was one guy on Kickstarter who would send me messages like, if not weekly, like multiple times a month, um, about like this should have been funded months ago, or like it's been a month and no update. What are you doing? And the messages like kind of got more and more personal, um, until he started like referencing things that I was like saying on social media, or like personal things that I was like talking about, and it got like really creepy. And thankfully I like forced a refund or whatever they call it is. You can do that, Kickstarter creators. If people are if people are harassing you, you can either report them to Kickstarter, which I did, and Kickstarter said too bad. um, but you can also just like issue them a refund, and that kicks them off your project.
You can hit the
So
shut
I
up
did
forever
that.
button. You can pay them to shut up
I did.
forever. Yeah.
Yeah. um, but that like really hit me in a weird spot. And then we had this is always like awkward to talk about, but we had like a weird friend group, like IRL person, people who I have been friends with since like middle school, um, in like the early 2000s. Just like kind of fall out in the, and you know, I that alone again, probably not a huge thing. People fall out of friendships all the time.
Mhm.
It's part of life. But like that was also like the impetus for that was someone like harboring weird resentment about like how people being me and my husband like talk on social media or whatever. It's the stupidest thing in the entire world.
Uh-huh.
But it happened at the time that I was getting like really weird harassment from like Twitter weirdos. Um, Tried making an alt. That was fine, whatever, for a little bit. And then like eventually I was just like, I can't do this. I can't have my life being like public. Um, and so I just deleted everything. I was like, I'm not. You can reach me by going into the woods. Find me under a log.
Uh-huh.
Um, so yeah, I do have. I have like a Tumblr now, and I'm on Discord. But that's
Very
it.
cool. That's good.
Yeah.
I think that's very respectable. Considering like like you were making games kind of in 2019 to like or at least like your later games around that time were kind of 2019
Mm-hmm.
to 2021, right? Like that kind of that phase, which was like a nightmare
Yeah.
time to be on to be on Twitter.
Any social media? Yeah.
Uh-huh. A time of like so much fucking just like group harassment and like uh you know like fucking hidden harassment squads and whisper net like dark whisper networks almost. um
Yeah. And
and
like
yeah.
you know, I'll say something like this was also at a time where like Me Too and stand up moments were happening. So like I don't want to paint with like a broad brush of like we should always in every platform that we participate in feel free to say, hey, here's something that happened, can we talk about it? um,
Hmm.
I do also think that there are angles to which a lot of Twitter dogpiling happened on queer and trans creators, in addition to like creators of color, disabled creators, etc. Any angle of marginalization that you can be attacked on, people are getting attacked on. All of that said, we should still be able to say like, hey, this person's kind of creepy in a way that made me
Absolutely.
uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I think where it
Agreed.
got inappropriate is like things were really targeted, and like sometimes the beefs were just like this person didn't like how I thought about games. Like I made a
Hmm.
tweet that was like essentially boiled down to you should be able to say no at the table. And I had a bunch of OSR people like dogpile me the day that I was going in for
Oh,
a life-changing job interview.
oh
So I was like
God.
sitting there like having a quiet panic attack while
Fucking
this
hell.
person's like asking me corporate questions.
Woof. Um, did he? I mean, I don't know.
I got the job.
Okay,
So,
you got
yeah.
it. Yeah, nice. All right, good. Glad that story at least ends well. Um, so I guess like, you know, not necessarily, um, not necessarily, not you haven't necessarily posted a lot of games in a while. Mostly kind of off social media. How does that kind of leave your relationship with games now?
That's a great question. So I had a chance to talk to Caro Assertion, who has done a ton of games that I super adore. Um, I'm sorry, did you say Street Magic, Exquisite
Hmm.
Biome, the upcoming Last Train to Bremen? Um, and I realized like I have no clue like what is current in terms of games. Like my conversational skills were like really limited to like here's what was happening in 2020. Um, and I felt a little weird and felt like not great because like I think one of the things that really attracted me to tabletop games in the first place, like way back in 2015, 2016 when I was making like a Mass Effect actual play, um, it was like here's this space where people are like looking at this artistic medium and saying we have now a platform. So early 2010s, um, a lot of social media is like starting to take off in a way that like Facebook hadn't really done at that point. Like you got Twitter starting to like beef up. Sad Mac Jam was what, like 2017, so it was like kind of in the building up of people are finding and making relationships with other creators that are like not just hey I like your stuff. It was like I like your stuff and have you thought about XYZ. um
Hmm.
and that kind of like naturally led into playing a bunch of games with a bunch of people that I not would not normally have, um, like reading things that my friends had made, like things that I wouldn't maybe normally have read, but I did because they were my friends, um, and all of that required me to have like this mental bandwidth of like just in the same way that like any hobby is going to require from you. Um, and it also requires like your ability to reach and access that art.
Yeah.
Um, one of the things Hannah Schaefer has like a really good saying or thought about this, that she said a while ago somewhere. I don't know. Where she said like the biggest problem for any indie creator in tabletop games is just like people don't want to look at the things that you've made, um, or people can't look at the things that you've made. So like the two
Right.
problems are they unwilling or are they unable? And more often than not, like the reason why people don't know about something is just because it has not reached them. Like the market penetration for a tabletop role playing game that is not Dungeons and Dragons is pitiful, if
It
it
is thin.
exists.
Yeah. It is a wisp.
Yeah. Yeah. And so
Hmm.
like there are so many games out there that are so cool. Like I guarantee you someone who is watching the show right now has made something that I don't know about that I would absolutely love. And like it's not for lack of trying, it's not for lack of talent or anything. It's just like I just don't see those things anymore.
I will say this
Um
is also like a designer's show in a lot of ways. That is probably very true.
yeah.
Like
Like
actual factual who made I'm forget Girl by Moonlight is watching. Uh
oh, holy shit. I love Girl by Moonlight.
yeah, good game.
Phenomenal game. Yeah.
Yeah. Just it's fun to shout. It's fun to look at the watching list and just shout people out.
Oh my god.
My trick.
Yeah. Um but yeah, so it's like not being on social media means that I'm not seeing all the cool things that my friends are making, which means that I'm not reading all of the cool games that are coming out, which means that I'm not also like looking at other things that other people are doing. But I also have to like temper that with the world is a fuck who has time for energy.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
I
Real.
also work full time and go to school part time. Like, you know, I kind of accepted that at a point. Like, I just had to clock out of games, and then if I come back, I'll come back and try and catch up. But yeah, so I will say, aside from the things that we've like talked about and planned about talking, like I have missed some of the news, which is a bummer. But that's why I like shows like yours, where it's like, hey, here's like what's happening, and here's how some people feel about it.
Yeah. Hell yeah. Well, I hope that I'm able to at least catch you up a little bit. Can I show you an image?
Please, I love looking at images.
Okay. So I want your opinion on this, because it does contain two of your games, is my understanding.
Oh no.
This is an image that I made. It does contain a lot of games that are made by my friends, because I am, a creature of. I'm a creature.
Yeah.
So if you look here, and I'll go by bit here. Actually, first I'll do the categories. So bimbo points: dense, adventurous, horny about freaktures of sex; cursed dick, sparse, weird, and lyrical; sad, horny about humans of sex. We have Slide Harder and Let These Mermaids Touch Your Dick maybe on there. Games that you have made both of. We have Princess with a Cursed Dick on the right. We have Penetrating the Veil by Z Gosk. We have Bone Down. We have To Change by US Duckler, who's in the chat. And then on the left we have we have Super Babes, which is where bimbo points come from. We have the book of erotic fantasy from old D&D. We have Vice and Violence by Rascal, or not Rascal. What's their name? Rapscallion. We have Euphoria 2180 by my girlfriend and friend Lothiel Leviathan. That was her. She made a sound. We have Rust and Raiders by my other girlfriend Wendy Ripston. We have Chronicles of Dark. We have the general World of Darkness games. We have Farflung, which is a really obscure sci-fi sex kind of RPG. Doll.bod,
So,
also by my girlfriend Wendy, Sapphic World, 7-part Pact, Apocalypse World. In the middle. That's all
I own the physical book for Farflung.
Oh shit. Okay, what I want your Farflung takes, and keep in mind they're not a friend of the show, so you can be critical.
Yeah.
that's the rule.
So here's the biggest hot take about Farflung is that you made a sci-fi game about weird freaky sex, and your stats use top and bottom from quantum physics and not top and bottom from topping and bottoming.
Yeah, I agree. Me and my girlfriend Wendy Ripston, who made 2 of these games, we're trying to find a good game to fuck with, and we considered Farflung, but the thing that we encountered was just, hey, this game's not really well designed.
It's not super horny either.
Yeah, it did have one really good line, which I kind of stole and put in Sapphic World, which is like, your items are things you might fuck. I think is pretty good. I think that's a good line.
I mean, I will give it points. It's a beautiful book. It's well laid out. It feels nice to hold.
I agree. How do you feel about the placement of your games on this chart?
Yeah, one of the things that I've been like rotating my brain around is after I came out as trans last year, about this time of year, Jay Dragon messaged me and was like, Mermaid's dick is kind of like, when we first saw that, it was like kind of gender a little bit. And I was like,
absolutely.
Oh no, have I just been writing games as a way of procrastinating about my gender crisis? And the answer is kind of yes. So I feel like cursed dick is pretty apt.
Yeah, I have to be real. When I read Mermaids and Slide Harder, I assumed they were made by like a lesbian or trans woman, and / or. So
Yeah.
yeah. That's my
Speaking of
image.
weird randos on the internet talking about my games,
Uh-huh.
there's
Me.
the worst ever game review that I've ever read happened about Let These Mermaids Touch Your Dick, maybe. And
Oh.
it was like right, it was like maybe 5 or 6 months after it came out. And someone on like Board Game Geek did a review of it where they called it a heterosexual male phallic fantasy.
T-
And like derided it for being like just a fantasy about hot mermaids cranking your hog, um, which is like so. And I'm not going to link to the review. I'm not like I won't talk about it anymore. But like it really was that like you can make a game, you can make anything so explicit about what it is about, and people
uh-huh.
will still like not get it. Um, because that game is about how much I wanted to suck a dick and
Uh-huh.
about how I didn't really like feel like a guy, but whatever. If wow, wouldn't it be great if I was a mermaid and I could like have fun, playing around with all these cool things. Um,
It's
and
pretty
people
cool.
take it up and pick it up and go, this is a heterosexist male fantasy.
I encountered a fascinating article in the comments of Let These Mermaids Touch Your Dick, maybe. I don't want to show it on stream because I feel that it's bad. But there is a wombo.art image from like when remember
I know
when
which one you're talking
remember when
about.
AI art was like not good but interesting, like it was a novelty.
Yeah, a little bit like back in the day of like Wall-E or whatever that the thing was called.
Yeah, it was like very Toys era AI. It's just interesting to see
Mhm.
that. It's interesting how much stuff has shifted. And it's like
Yeah.
from someone with like a like T-girl pickaroo. Um, there's a lot. There's a lot of commentary there. I don't know. It's just interesting. It's like an interesting. Um, like if you posted an AI image today, the girl with the T-girl. To be clear, I don't use AI images, and I don't think it's very like artistically compelling or like good for the most part. Um,
Yeah.
but I just think it's interesting that like the average picker T girl would like fucking destroy you for posting an AI image of some mermaids touching a girl's dick today, and
Right.
that's that's the shape of life.
Oh, someone in chat pointed out that that game is restricted. I do have Let These Mermaids Touch Your Dick maybe and Slide Harder restricted until I find like I just have to get around to making new covers for them. Um, the cover images that I have for those games both are royalty free like Creative Commons licenses from Unsplash.
Okay.
Um, but I also like kind of felt a little bit weird about it back in January about like, hey, here are two women whose faces appear on these kind of horny games. And although they have uploaded these pictures to Unsplash, I don't quite know how they personally feel about them.
Mhm.
And Mermaid's Dick is like kind of getting enough attention now where I feel like it could get back to that person. I didn't want to make them uncomfortable, so I was like, "Oh, I'll just do this next week or something," and then I procrastinated for 6 months on it.
Fair. Is there a way that people can get this?
Probably.
You
I
heard it
could.
here first,
I could.
folks. Find it.
let me let me log back into itch.io.
Yeah, I guess I saw them because I had them, and that's funny.
Yeah. If you do have them, you can get them.
Yeah,
How do I unrestrict this?
if you have them, you can get them. Breaking news on the
You hear
Dovecote.
it? Itch.io has not changed once since 2015, and
It will
I
always
think
be
that
the
that's
same.
good. All right, it should be public now.
Oh shit! I've really the Dovecote is an archival an archival show. Um, well, thank you for freeing freeing the
freeing
beasts.
the mermaids.
Because I feel like
Yeah.
I talk about Slide Harder and mermaids quite a bit. At least as like, you know, when I'm talking about like games have been horny like into the like into the 2010s. That's kind of one of the those and a lot of
Mm-hmm.
Anna Anthony's works I tend to call back to. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so
Yeah. Let
I
me
got
unrestrict Slide Harder too. You are the first person to ever speak to me about Slide Harder.
huh. I
No
like
one
it.
else talks to me about this game. So
It's hot and it's funny. I like the idea of using. It's like a slip and slide and lube, right? Like those are the game pieces.
no, it's yeah. I mean, it's lube and it's lube, a hot room, and a cold glass of ice water are the
Right.
things that you need.
Yes. Okay. Sorry, it's been a couple years since I read it.
Yeah. No, you're playing as slip and slides. So
Right. Okay. Yes.
as
That
hot
is
people
where
doing
my
a slip and slide, and you have to be like, yeah,
really good. Um, yeah, people should check out those games now that those are available because of the Dovecote.
look at this direct action.
Direct
This is
action.
journalism.
This is literal journalism. Yeah. Um, fuck it. Fuck yeah. So, one more specific game of yours that I want to talk about is Weird But Worms, a one word RPG. I don't want you to tell people what is in the book unless you
Yeah.
want to.
No, I think that there's been enough like there's been a lot of discussion about We Are But Worms to the point where like so many people have written so many words about this one word.
Yeah,
Um, it's been translated into Tokipona, which is a language that I had no clue about
that's
until just
awesome.
recently. Yeah.
It is $1. It is one word. You will have a lot of fun when you read it, and then you will play it. Um, yeah, I feel like a lot of ink has been spilled about it. Um, is there anything you would change about the book?
Oh, some commenter on Itch.io had a really great joke to make about it.
Okay.
4 years ago, Trotskyiana gave me a really good piece of design criticism, which was the rules heavy and crunchy approach this tabletop RPG takes does bog down character creation for the first couple of sessions. Otherwise, it has a very solid combat and exploration system. So, I will say, if I were to change anything, I would probably find some way to make the rules a little slimmer for the exact reasons that they point out.
Yeah,
I haven't
that's
found
fair.
the best approach.
My friend, I Feel Odd, my friend and collaborator, I Feel Odd, posted a reply a year ago that just says, "I did it," smiley face, which I
Yeah.
think is a really good response to what the game is for the understanders in the audience.
Hmm.
But yeah, I really like it. What? Hmm. So like you're in a phase where you're not really in TTRPGs, not necessarily in TTRPGs, but you're not necessarily like making things, keeping up with things. Like, is there anything in the space that you kind of regret not doing, or when such if you go back that you'd like to do?
Hmm. There is a ton being done with lyric games right now. And I'll give a shout out to the Lyrical Ludology podcast, which is
Hmm.
done by Logan, who authored the
Friend of the
Logan
show.
the autobiography. Yeah. Um, Logan's got a Discord where there's a bunch of people that talk about lyric games, and there's some really cool things happening there with like I don't know lyric games.
Hmm.
It's hard to like talk more about it, but I really wish that I could like pay more attention to some of the things that are going on in there. Just because like I feel like I rolled off of games right about the time where like people were like, hey, lyric games are really cool. Um, and like starting to do more and more, and like there are people now in this Discord like making a ton of games, and I just don't know who they are, and I would love to be like, tell me how you did this. because like every lyric game is like a magical spell or like a alchemical potion. Like I need to know what's in it, and that's just like a whole artistic genre that I feel like I was really 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 attached to, and like I really very strongly was like, yeah, my games are lyric games, like even the ones that like happened way before that was like even a term, um, kind of like fit into that, like, um, and I've been on lyrical ludology talking about like what I think a lyric game is or isn't, and so like I don't know that I need to go down that road here, but like I do and am always fascinated by people who are like, hey, I don't think that this needs this to still be whatever art that I'm doing.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so I'm just like fascinated by all the stuff that people are doing there.
The thing that you're describing, where you're in a Discord and you're like, I don't know who this person is, but they're doing something fascinating, has been kind of my experience with making the Faggot Games Discord. Um,
Yeah.
where I
Wait,
have,
holy shit. There's a Discord for faggot games?
yeah. Hang on, I'm gonna send you an invite. um, so like, the thing that I have encountered is just like people, like for a lot of first time game creators are making really interesting stuff, and when you give them the like, when you keep telling people just fucking go in, they make really 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 great stuff, I've found.
Hell yeah.
um Let me, I gotta find it. There it is. Okay, boom. But yeah, I gotta get into that lyrical ludology Discord as well. That sounds sick.
Hell yeah.
Sounds like a good space.
I'll pop the link to that into chat here.
Hell yeah.
Oh, it didn't give any sort of. It's just the URL. Have fun.
Have fun in there. Don't get lost. I'm in now. Yippee. All right. So what did I want to go to now? Actually, we're at about the half-hour mark. How do you feel about going into the news? Maybe doing one or two of these and then hitting a break.
Yeah, let's talk about the news.
Hell yeah. All right, let me get another bird going. Which is Cordus the news bird coming in from like a beautiful cherry tree grove, because I'm looking at my looking at my hard Arizona iced tea that I drank before this.
Hell yeah.
Okay. So, we have some fun news today. Let me. I put in links? I didn't put in links for that because it was before any of that had happened. Let me quickly.
Yeah.
Uh.
Also, I love these birds.
Thank
now
you.
that I can say that like vocally, they're good birds.
Thank you so much. I liked making them. They're very fun. Okay, here we go. So let's do a quick little scroll through of the Crit Awards finalists, and we'll kind of talk about ones that intrigue us. I don't know if you have any thoughts on these. Oh, that's
I
the
have
wrong tab.
a couple of thoughts.
That's...
There's 50 categories, which is wild.
It's rather big.
Yeah, it's always a good reminder of like how big this kind of, I mean, this space is. Like, so many people are doing so many things.
Yeah, that's kind of how I felt when I went to Big Bad Con. It was like, oh, there are truly so many APs. There are truly so many people here who are from their little AP, which I know is different from previous years, where it's a lot more like designer oriented. But let's talk about these. Let me see if there are any of these that are like, I mean, part of this
best solos. Oop.
Go ahead.
Best solos, the A Witch, a Gallows Bird by Jellyfish Lines. Jellyfish Lines is in the Lyrical Ludology Discord, and we had I think, a fun little celebration when we saw A Witch, a Gallows Bird come into finalists. So just wanted to give a shout out on air there.
Hell yeah! I was going to mention the same thing. As Jelly is also a frequent kind of frequently involved in faggot game stuff. So a cool friend and cool creator. Um, I mean, ultimately, one of the things that's going to happen, and always happens when I read these reward lists, is like I'm going to talk about my friends mostly, uh,
Oh
and that's
yeah.
kind of just the reality of it. Um, so let me see. I'm trying to remember. I feel like a lot of these I didn't recognize, but if you have ones that you want to highlight,
We want to scroll up to number 2.
yeah.
There it is. Last Train to
Oh
Bremen by
yeah, hell
Caro
yeah.
Assertion.
Yup. That's getting published by Possum Creek, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. The God, that game. Every word I hear about that game makes me more and more excited. Like I'm a slut for those like Faust stories,
Hmm.
and also like a really big fan of like any RPG that has to talk about music or musicians is always something that like really stokes my fire, because like I think that the two art forms are very very connected in terms of like some of the more like meta theory about how they work.
Hmm.
Um, like I could talk forever about like the role of improv in jazz and folk music, and how like role playing games are folk art in that way too, forever. But like I think the Last Train to Bremen really captures,
There
from
goes
what
my
I've heard
camera.
about it, like ah
Oh
oh
god.
big.
We're trying to fix it, folks.
Yeah. This is live on air.
Yeah.
Yeah, Last Train to Bremen just like really packages that neatly in like a weird kind of interpersonal dynamic to the role play, which I find very
Hmm.
fun. I have not yet got to like hit it to the table, but when Caro and I were talking, we also talked about Last Train to Bremen. They were giving me the lowdown on it.
I've heard great things. I've not touched it yet, unfortunately. I really need to. All right, so this is just gonna be we're gonna do a little. Hang on. Uh,
There's the goat. Yeah.
yeah, we're going goat mode because it's just gonna be easier for now. I get a new webcam. I might do that tonight. Um,
Hmm.
but yeah, good for Caro. I need to express this directly to Caro, but it would be cool to have Caro on the show at some point. We'll, uh, I may reach out one of these
Hell
days.
yeah.
Um, so
But here's the also thing. Like when we were talking about not really like I feel very disconnected from games right now. Like I
mhm.
reading through all of these games, I recognized those two. And
Okay,
like there are so many categories. I wish I knew all 5 of these one-page TTRPGs. Like
yeah,
I think obviously if I wrote Worms, brevity is something that is important to me. Um Fitting things on one page is also very cool, just to like as a creative constraint, but then also just like utilitarian. Like you can fit a page into your back pocket, um pull it out in line at a gaming convention, be like, hey, person behind me, we're friends now, do you want to play this
play
game?
this with me today. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's cool. I've heard good things about Tom Balloon's Kane. Tom Balloon being the Lancer person. Triangle
Mm.
Agency, good shit. I've played a little bit of that, and it's lovely. And also, Caleb's a friend of the show, and also just a neat person, neat
Hell
designer.
yeah.
Um, I know that I think it was Esther who's involved in Haunting Beloved, but I've not watched that, so I can't necessarily vouch for that. Um, let's see. I'm gonna see if I can find the ones where I'm like, these are cool. These are things that I care deeply about and want you to go look at and
Hmm.
vote for. Um, uh, like one of these was pretty much anything that involves Seda. There's one that's like directly Seda and one that's for Folio. Definitely, definitely vote for Seda and Folio. I was on Folio, and Folio is just generally a really good show. Seda is like an excellent editor, both in audiovisual and TTRPGs. Um, and then I also just want to, because I had Austin Ramsey on a while back. Anything in here that's like Austin Ramsey or Kalaskan, give those a boop. And then I also want to yeah, here we go,
Yeah,
Kalaskan Setting
speaking
War.
of Kalaskan.
Yep, hell yeah. Uh, and let me see if there's anything else here. I feel like there was some. Ba-ba-ba-ba-ba. Hey, Seda, there we go. Um, wah, 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 wah. Oh, hey, best blogger article written in the TTRPG space.
Oh,
Here's the problem. These are all really good blogs and articles. Uh, I am
but
going
they're
to.
not as good as faggot games.
They're not as good as Faggot Games. Uh, like, uh, I.
So
Yeah.
yeah, you go ahead. I am gonna look something up real quick
Okay,
while
go
you're
ahead.
talking.
I really like I remember reading Let's Talk About Ghibli inspired TTRPGs. I don't think I've read the complicated labor behind voicing diverse D&D characters, but I really liked Hamna's TTRPGs are part of the War Machine, but they don't have to be. I thought that was like a really good like a really good piece, and I think that the fact that piece came like right before the People Make Games video piece on that was really great.
Mm-hmm.
However, I think none of these have like inspired a creative movement and like dragged a pretty like teacher RPG creators who don't necessarily get their hands dirty or like create work that is slutty to be to be frank,
Mm-hmm.
like to get people those sorts of designers into a different paradigm of content and like not content in the like oh, I'm watching content on Netflix sense, but content as in like the stuff that's in the book, the
Yeah.
themes and the text, and also like I think that Faggot Games has a lot to say about safety things that I want to write more about, but I think that like uh the blog here that I wrote summarizes, and so I'm asking you, and I feel that my blog here is the best among these, even though it is against some very very good ones.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're like definitely no stock against the other three competitors, but
Mhm.
um no, I read faggot games like 5 times.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. And I think I'm gonna connect it to a piece of queer literature, which was something that like really kind of changed how I look at um like making queer art,
Mhm.
and like specifically in TTRPGs. Um, I think at one point in time, the queer as a three-sided die panel that happened at Gen or happens at Gen Con every year, um, was like relevant and appropriate. And I
Mhm.
don't know if it is quite anymore in terms of like what we are able to talk about in terms of like in the public space, and also what we are able to show in the art that we make. Um, so for people who aren't familiar, Queer as a Three-Sided Die was a panel. I don't know if they still do it at Gen Con. And then they have it at a couple other conventions where a lot of like, not a lot of, um, anywhere between like 3 and 5 creators, and they were mostly game designers from either Paizo or Wizards of the Coast, would come up and like talk about how those companies are progressive this and that because they had like an NPC in an adventure module who had a husband.
Mhm.
Again, like I think that at one point in time in tabletop role playing games, like that was probably radical.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
and I'll say this like slightly tongue in cheek. I do mean it kindly. Like we are living in the year 2025 now. It's not the 90s anymore. Um, and you don't get to have your Ellen moment to be like so publicly celebrated if it's just like, hey, this thing says gay on it. Like you have to do more than just like paint your game rainbow to make it be like a queer game. And something that I like really was wrestling with a lot in my game design from like 2017 to 2020 2021ish, about like how do I make games that are queer beyond just like this person is gay in them. Um, and so looking at things like Let These Mermaids Touch Your Dick, about like how do I incorporate fantasy and desire into like mechanized play? Like how do I make something that you can do which is like very explicitly about like the a private fantasy.
Yeah.
Um and like also a lot of these other games, like how do I change maybe how people work with um like intimacy during play. My game with fire, thy affections hold a wing.
Mhm.
You have to like hold hands with your scene partner the entire game. So like holding hands with someone for an hour is a lot. Um, and then also thinking about this is where that piece of queer literature comes in, and then I will connect it to faggot games.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um, we're gonna take a time machine back to 1977, where Larry Mitchell founded Calamus Press,
Mhm.
which was at the time like a very niche. We are going to publish gay male erotica kind of small press imprint. Um, and he self published a game called The Faggots and Their Friends Between Revolutions,
Yes,
and
I
it
thought you were
was
going there. Yeah, really good one.
fuck yeah.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
Genuinely like one of my favorite books of all time,
So
and
fucking good.
everyone should read it. And it's just about like a bunch of fairies who like waltz through this declining empire, this like patriarchy that's falling apart around them while they like suck each other off. Um, and having this, it's like it's not quite fiction, it's not quite manifesto, it's not quite like just sometimes like there's a very elaborate um like wood carving of someone holding a massive phallus and like squirting all over,
Mhm.
and it says something like sell your car or something. I don't know. um of saying something like if we want any chance of having art that's like for us, we have to not only allow but we have to like participate in actively, and we have to create art that is like way out there in terms of the spectrum of whatever subject we're trying to create. And if that subject is like queer sex or like play and desire or like hyperbole in any of these things, like we have to be able to say there is a line where something is too much or not, and like the too much line should not exist.
Yeah.
And I don't know, that might just all of me being rambling, but like that was the spirit that I got from faggot games, was like we have to be able to like find ways to make the act of like role playing at the table be weird and like sticky. Sticky is a I think the word that the article uses. And
Mhm.
even if we're like, you know, all of this is to say like this requires buy-in, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But if you have like a group of people that are like, hey, let's either go see this like photography installation about like this black and white artist's friend's butthole, um, which is a real exhibit that I saw in Chicago
Hell
visiting
yeah.
John Hardis. Um, uh, so like you could go to like butthole photography exhibit, or you could sit down with Sapphic World and like talk about like I don't know, shooting pussy guns at each other.
Uh-huh. Writing that down. Pussy guns. There will be pussy guns in the game. I'm putting that in the work chat for Sapphic World in the You Are Beheld co-op Discord server. So, or sorry, not co-op, Creative Collective.
Yeah,
Yeah.
hell yeah, beautiful. You have to as uh hopeful friend of the show Adira Slattery once told me,
Mhm.
you have to be willing to like sit down and say, I'm gonna write a game called Stand in a Square or Draw a Square in the Dirt and write Sex is Here.
Yes, absolutely. Adira Slattery is not a friend of the show, but should be.
Yeah,
Slattery is a friend of the show, and also a friend of my partner when you're Ripston. So I should
hell
definitely
yeah.
get Adira on. But yeah, I really appreciate. I am extremely flattered by that comparison. Yeah, Revolutions is absolutely a like, you know, it is part of the work that I do. And any time I encounter a little bit of it, I just kind of, it's a really fun book. I have to be honest. I don't think I've read it front to back, but it's a really fun book to explore.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
It's back in print. It's
oh hell yeah,
they did a reissue in 2016, but then they did like an actual like big issue in 2019. So you can actually get copies of it.
oh yeah, it's like Nightboat.
Hmm.
perhaps. Hell yeah, it's $17, which is like, yeah,
That's nothing
yeah, I'd go for
for
it
like
for
books
this book.
today.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, yeah, please vote for faggot games and urgent warning. I feel very strongly about it. Um, I think that like it would be really cool to see that win. It would be a really loud statement of like what like
It would be an urgent warning.
it would be an urgent warning. And I think it would be a statement on like, you know, um what people want.
Hmm.
I like games. Let me see if there's anything else here. CalsCon's cool. But you know, we're good. All right. How? Hmm. Do you think we could do the next story before a break, or do you think we should take a break before?
uh, let's do the next story just because like I have less to say about that. It was
Cool.
more of me going, here is a thing that is in the news.
Let me just double check that I have everything in the right order. Um, yes, we're gonna talk about the TCG player strike, which Rascal's Nicole Carpenter has done some reporting on. Um, uh,
Yeah.
yeah, this authentication center for TCG Player. What does TCG Player do? Um,
So they are owned by eBay, and
okay, I
so it's a platform that's owned by eBay. I think that you can also just like find the regular TCG player site. It is like a secondary market resale for things like Magic the Gathering or like Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, any of your trading card games. If you have a secondary market for them, you just inherently need to have some sort of authentication because you're going to get into so much trouble, and also like it's just bad business practice to like not verify that the people that are selling the things on your platform are actually selling the things that they're saying that they're selling. Like without TCG player, if you were to go, or without this authentication center for
yeah,
TCG player, you know, anyone could be free to like photocopy, uh I don't know, it's been forever million years since I knew anything about Magic the Gathering. You could like photocopy Black Lotus and be like, I have
yeah,
this card, give me $1,000, and someone could give you $1,000 and you could just mail them the photocopied Black Lotus. um
right,
so what this authentication center does is like work through saying like who are the authenticated sellers, what are the like legit businesses, and then they also screen out any of those scam services. um they have been negotiating for like, yeah, I think the article says more than 600
2023.
days.
Yeah, voted
Yeah.
in 2023.
Yep. um Recently they were all fired. eBay
Yeah,
said, okay, rather than deal with negotiating with your union, we're just going to let you all go. Um, and yeah, that pull quote, security guards corralling crying coworkers.
oh, that's fucked.
There's a alleged physical assault by the eBay
Here,
security folks. Yep, that press release by the Communications Workers of America. Yeah,
brutal.
I don't have really nuanced takes. I think the reporting that the person from Rascal did, if we want to scroll up and grab their name again,
Nicole
Nicole
Carpenter.
Carpenter. Yeah,
Good shit. I'm gonna post it in the.
this looks really well researched. There's a lot
Hmm.
of links to NLRB reporting, to the union press releases. Um, yeah,
Wishing these folks the best. I hope that you know, I hope that they receive some sort of justice, and I hope that it's swift and you know, and decisive. And I hope eBay is fucked forever, permanently.
yeah.
All right. We'll talk about the next one soon. After we take a break. How do you feel about a 5 minute break? We'll return back at the hour.
Love it.
All right, see you all in 5 minutes. And that's why Charizard is more valuable than Squirtle as a card.
And Flareon's the only fire type that can't learn Solar Beam.
And Vaporeon, I don't really. People would assume that I'm the type of person who would like that joke, but I
Yeah.
I think the Vaporeon thing. I think if people earnestly were talking about fucking Vaporeon, it'd be different. But it's like there's a level of irony and like copy pasta ishness to it that I don't really vibe with.
Mm. Yeah.
I think you need to actually want to fuck Vaporeon if you're gonna talk in my direction
Right.
about fucking Vaporeon.
Be honest. Commit to the bit.
Yeah.
Some Pokemon are hot.
Some Pokemon are hot. I don't necessarily know if Vaporeon's one of mine, but like, if it's yours, then you have to believe it.
If it's yours, let me know. I'm relaxing the don't talk to me rule on the internet. If you want to fuck Vaporeon, I need to know.
There's a the the implication that you're trying to fuck my fans and you are a Vaporeon is really.
You haven't seen my face. You haven't seen me and Vaporeon in the same room.
This is true. Fuck. Okay. Let's get back to the news. So this bit. I'll read what you wrote.
Oh shit.
Actually, I'm not gonna read what you wrote. Um, do you want to just explain this? Because this is just something that you like you encountered, and I'm really curious about it.
Yeah. So I put in the notes, why won't someone prosecute Hasbro for monopoly slash monopsony charges? And then 5 exclamation points. Sorry, they're question marks. Um, and I'll just like preface all of this. I'm a law student only.
Hmm.
I'm not a lawyer yet. I haven't, in the words of Jay-Z, I ain't passed the bar, but I know a little bit. This is not legal advice. If you have questions, consult legal counsel in your state, etc., etc., etc. That said, why haven't we gone after Hasbro for antitrust charges? Because Section 2 of the United States Sherman Act reaches unilateral conduct by a single firm. According to Lexology.com, a monopolization claim has two elements. So these element is a term of art in the legal profession. It means something that you have to prove. You do not have a case if you don't have these elements, and you need to do both of these. The possession of monopoly power in a relevant market, which is arguable that they already have. They control whatever market share. God, it was like back in 2019, I think someone posted the revenue for the tabletop or RPG market according to like some Bureau of Labor study or something, and like
Yeah.
found that D&D had something like I don't want to say a name or a number just in case I get this wrong, but something like 80%, like 155 million, I think was the market cap for that industry
Holy shit.
in whatever that year was. And I think the non D&D share of that pie was maybe like 10 mil. Um, Give me a duck username says I thought this was about suing Hasbro for making Monopoly. You can do that too. I just don't
True.
know what charge you would bring them up on.
That's a scary thing because that's how they get you with in
Yeah.
court. Hasbro is you say Hasbro has a monopoly, and then they pull
And they're
out a
like,
box
yeah.
of Monopoly and they're like, yeah, we sell it.
And the judge bangs his gavel and says, now, Lee, you go to jail.
you you
Uh,
you lose $1 million.
Yeah. So that first element is pretty easy to argue. The second one would probably be where a lot of creative lawyering would come in, and because
Mm.
of the fact that Hasbro is currently valued at like 1.7 billion with a B, I think that they're going to have better lawyers than me. So the second element is the acquisition, enhancement, or maintenance of that power by, and here's what I have in bold: anti-competitive or exclusionary conduct. Very vague. uh, the Sherman Act is the like where you go for monopoly charges. Yeah. Um, it's vague on purpose. They say like, hey, this is a way to protect the market, not to necessarily set like a line of strict conduct. So a lot of this comes down to common law, which is essentially just like a fancy way of saying we pay the lawyers to argue about it. Um,
Right.
for a lot of judges, so this is straight from the FTC's website, for the courts, a key factor in determining what is unreasonable, so what would come into anti-competitive or exclusionary conduct. And again, just the possession of monopoly power in a relevant market alone is not enough to prove monopoly. Um, Legal writing gives me a headache sometimes. But so,
Sick.
a key factor in determining what is unreasonable is whether the practice has a quote legitimate business justification. So again,
Okay.
purposely vague so that we can pay lawyers a bunch of money to argue about it for a long time. Um, but in my time in the industry as a small press indie publisher of role playing games, which compete at a nominal level with Dungeons and Dragons, in that sometimes I am looking at the same customer pool as they are.
Right.
My products, my creative output goes to the same place, or would go to, if Hasbro did not hold a monopoly on the market, such that no other title shares any sort of household cachet outside of Dungeons and Dragons. Um, so this is where I come into discussion time, is saying like these are things that I think you could potentially argue, and if you had a favorable judge, I could see a universe where these things could potentially come to a monopoly or an antitrust charge against Hasbro. Um, they book out entire convention halls at Gen Con. So like
Yeah.
they'll say, "Hey, Indianapolis Convention Center, we want this entire floor for Dungeons and Dragons." Um, they justify that by filling seats. They put butts in seats in those rooms. Um, I think that there's a question of causation of, do you think that those butts in seats come from people who go, I want to play specifically Dungeons and Dragons, and here's where I go to do it? Or do you think that that comes from people who see an entire convention hall that's labeled, here's the D&D
Uh-huh.
hall, and go, okay, well, here's where I need to go. Um,
You might have a point on the ladder for sure. I can see it.
mhm. Yeah, and so the secondary effect for this is like this limits space in official spaces for small press publishers who arguably should be given, equal opportunities. If there was not a monopoly, if there were not anti-competitive or exclusionary conduct, I think booking out convention space so that your competitors can't be present is by definition exclusionary.
Yeah.
But like small press publishers, small event organizers, like what was the I don't know. There was like a women focused resource group, started with a C, um, Contessa. Like
Right.
Contessa in 2019, I want to say, was forced to run all of their events in the open gaming floor of the Indianapolis Colts Stadium,
Oh boy.
which was so unbearably loud that you just like could not hear the people sitting next to you at a table. Um, and that was Contessa. Like at the time, they were pretty like
Pretty
that. They
big.
were a big, well-known name in like the hobby. Um, and like they couldn't even get an official convention center room. Um, Hasbro also sets writer pay. So this is where Monopoly is paired with a fun word called monopsony. Um, and that is essentially, instead of saying if a monopoly is an exclusive control on the market, a monopsony is an exclusive control on the labor. And
Okay.
so, if you want to be any sort of like mainstream, uh, like writer, like how juicy do you think a D&D credit is on your CV or your resume? And sometimes people also just like, I want to say like I want to write for D&D. Like this is something that I've been doing and part of since I was 11 years old. I want to
Yeah.
have a credit. Um, and I think again this is like in 2019 when I saw the number float around, but they were paying like something like 2 cents a word at
It's
Hasbro.
fucking disgusting.
Yeah. And like there was no negotiation on that. Like that is the rate that you get no matter who you are. Maybe if you're like Jeremy
Crazy.
Crawford, you're going to get something else, but um Yeah, so if you're an aspiring writer and you want to write for D&D, you have to accept poverty pay if you want your work to be seen at all. And also just like knowing that D&D is the only name, the only title with like household cachet. Um, if you want, you know, Jane Doe, someone's mom, to like play your D&D thing,
Yeah.
you have no choice but to accept that small poverty wage. Um, and anti-competitive conduct to curb harassment of like third-party marginalized creators. um like I remember when folks were talking about like, hey, a lot of these portrayals of like orcs and goblinoid races are racist.
Yeah.
The whole combat wheelchair fiasco,
Oh God,
and like
yeah.
having no institutional support for people creating that third-party content for your franchise. um
Let it burn.
could be potential. Yeah, exactly. And then recently they tried to revoke the OGL, and say like
Uh-huh.
all third party content is copyright infringement,
Fucked up.
which is fucking nuts. Both in terms of like the unsettled state of what is infringement for game mechanics, and like this is 100% wrong, but like the urban legend of like, oh, your mechanics are not copyrightable but the text is, like
Hmm.
that was kind of like the understood community practice, which I guess again could be argued, whatever. um but then also like specifically the deals and the platforms that they have with all of this content that has already been produced under that license, and then just being like retroactively this is bad is so
Huh.
fucking nuts.
It's crazy.
So like those four things, and like I put a fifth bullet point, I don't know, probably other stuff too.
Other
um
stuff too.
yeah, other stuff too,
When they
that's the
killed
fifth
that one
one.
guy,
Yeah. uh I don't know, this is my tinfoil hat theory, is that someone in Hasbro
Pinkertons.
tipped off. Yeah, someone in Hasbro tipped off Project Sunshine or whatever that made the FBI raid Steve Jackson games back in the 90s.
Huh.
Um, that's my tinfoil hat that I'll be buried
It's
with.
a really fun theory. Huh. Could be true.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I was talking about rates in the chat. 25 cents a word is really good. I like that. 10 cents a word,
Yeah.
pretty good. Uh, I do 20 mostly when I'm paying people to write or edit. Although sometimes
Yeah.
I'll do like split rates depending on what feels like, depending on how big a book is. Sometimes I'll do like a split rate of like, 10 for copy, 10 for mechanical edit. It really
Mm-hmm.
depends on what the game is like. Uh, but yeah, I think generally just fucking 10 or up at least. But ideally, like if people are doing actual writing, I think you should be
Mm-hmm.
paying them 20 up personally.
Yeah. I mean, I'll go on record. I haven't paid a contributor lower than 40 cents a word.
Hell yeah,
Like
sick as
that
fuck.
to me is like low even.
That's a
If and
good
when
ass
I get
rate.
back into games, it will be higher. But that was when I was making like half as much as I do now. So here's the other thing: is my day job has gotten more and more stressful
Right.
since I have left games. So like even now, I'm like, I don't know if I could even do it again, even if I wasn't a student, just because of the demands.
The demands.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's fair. I'm in a similar boat where my day job has been really demanding in terms of like I leave the office with things that I didn't get done. And
Mm-hmm.
that is not a situation I want to be in any job I'm in, so I'm probably going to quit at some point. But that will
Mm-hmm.
be after I find other work. But,
Yeah.
I made a whole thread today talking about some of my work woes because I've been having not a hard, like I'm not like miserable. It's just I know that this is not gonna be for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean like that's a death knell for like like anything that you do. If you're like
Yeah,
this isn't for me, like this is, if you're if you're working a job and you're like this is a time killer, either it better be worth the time that you're killing to like get you to whatever your next thing is going to be, or you quit.
yeah,
Just
absolutely.
cuz like at the end of the day you will burn yourself out doing something that you're going to burn yourself out on. Like I know that that's a tautology, but it is what it is.
Hi, Takuma Okada. Uh,
Oh shit.
Loves Stewpot.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Also, 40 cents. I will take that. I will take that into account, and perhaps Yab will up our rates. We'll see.
Yeah.
Um,
And I mean,
Hell
like,
yeah.
that's for like official, like, if I'm doing something professionally, like
Yeah.
if I have to make a contract for you to like write this thing, I'm gonna write that into 40 cents. I have definitely made games with friends where we both have like done work for free.
Yeah. Same. Hell yeah. Well, you wanna? Do I have mail? I sure hope I do. Let's see. I do have mail.
Hell
I
yeah.
got one question. uh,
Nice.
but we will answer it. And also, if folks want to ask myself or Lee questions in chat, feel free to do so as well. You can either send them to the email darlinggamingclips@gmail.com or send them in chat. Oh, we have 4 questions from.
Oh shit.
Wait, what? I don't know what some of these are. Okay. Uh, we'll go through these one at a time. So, first, for Riverhouse Games, Weird Worms is a masterpiece of teacher design. Can you tell me in one word a bit more about your design inspirations, touchdowns, and creative process? That's pretty funny.
Yes. That's my word.
Very cool.
I am able to do that.
Very, very cool. I had a game idea listening to this. Hell yeah. Very exciting. I hope it's good. I hope it's good and cool. Um, what's better than a one-word teacher RPG, though? A two-word teacher RPG. Each of you give one word and then combine them and make a new teacher RPG. Right now.
Don't.
Uh,
That's my word.
what was it?
My word is don't. DON apostrophe T.
Come.
Oh god.
You have to be so careful. New game, don't come. Uh, okay, enough
I
silly
think
talk.
we're really
Yeah.
getting to the edge of something here.
We're in the edge of design. Fuck. Okay. 3 is okay. Enough silly talk. Time to get serious. Get ready for some hard-hitting questions. Okay, I'm tensing up. I'm tightening certain areas.
We're
Uh,
clenched.
4. I'm gonna be honest. I'm still thinking about the Gorn. What about you? The Gorn.
I'm
Wait,
always thinking about the Gorn.
Gorn?
The Gorn is from Arena, which is an episode of Star Trek, the
Oh
original
right.
series. It's where Kirk gets beamed down by this weird omniscient alien, and he has to like fight the Gorn, which is this lizard guy
Right.
who's in
Yes.
the cuntiest little like leopard print tank top, crop top, like glittery shorts, beautiful gem jeweled eyes, and all he does is like hiss and growl, and there's something about him that does it for me. And I wrote a game about it called Arena. And it's about
Oh,
wrestling the Gorn, and he's really hot. He's so fucking hot.
he's pretty good. He's pretty hot. I was thinking about Gorn, the VR video game, where you hit a guy real bad and
Oh,
you hurt him. You hurt him a lot. You punch and kick, and you got a big sword and flops around a whole bunch.
I
Very
mean, I
homoerotic.
do like a big floppy sword.
Yeah. So really, all roads lead to homoeroticism. It seems like.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. Uh, anyone? Does anyone have questions in chat, or do we have any more emails? Let's see. Okay. Do I have any questions for you? That's another part of this. Oh, my
I have a
bird.
question for you.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, so I asked this question of every guest that I had on Game Closet, and I just like asking it and hearing all the everyone's different answers. So if you could give someone one piece of advice to make their games more queer, what would that piece of advice be?
Oh, that's a really good one. Gosh, I think one piece of advice. Let let the game speak for itself. Like, I think fundamentally, I have had this issue. Like, editors have had to. Uh, my partner, who I've mentioned a bunch in this show, Wendy, has like told me to do this.
Mm-hmm.
You have to believe in the reader that they are going to understand what you're going for, um,
Mm-hmm.
and also they are not going to be like hurt by what you've written. Um,
Mm.
and if they are, then like that is you know, it is what it is. I had an argument with someone in in under one of my games. Not really an argument. It was an argument because they were like it was specifically fuck me like I'm stupid,
Mm.
my bimbo game, and someone was
Incredible game.
like thank you. Someone was like I don't like that there's the word faggot in this game. Uh, because it makes me feel uncomfortable, and it could like remove a portion of the audience that might otherwise enjoy it. And it
Mm.
seems like there's one use of faggot in Fuck Me Like I'm Stupid, like my bimbo sci-fi adventure game, um, and it is I believe it's faggot clothes, which is to refer to the so-called man playbook's clothing options, um, because the so-called man is the reason why the so-called man would speak about her her clothes that way is because in the beginning, when the so-called man understands herself to be a man, she is looking at these clothing options and saying, "Oh, that's like that's her faggots, right?" Like in a derogatory way. Um, but when she's fully bimbified, when she's fully like girl pilled, um, she looks at them and says, "Oh, this is so faggy. I should wear this." And I explained that in my reply to this person. Don't please don't reply to this person because I think it's very obvious who this is, but also like I've had the conversation I wanted to have with this person, but yeah. Point being, like I think you have to like you might make some bad decisions, but I do think like you can't be couching your work before it's released. I think uh
Mm-hmm.
you have to be happy with it.
Yeah. And also, like, games, we made up games.
Yeah,
They can be whatever we want them to be. Like, if I want to say faggot in my game, and if I want to like tell a story about how someone explores how they feel about a certain style of fashion and their gender in relation to that, like, there might be a word for that that might be faggot.
yeah. We have questions from Duck in the chat. I have
Oh shit.
I have new questions. What do you have to say about Fujoshis playing hot gay bro dragons?
So I
That's
don't. Here's the I don't know what this means, and I'm too afraid to
okay.
ask.
A Fujoshi is like a woman who is like fascinated by like you know who's fascinated by and like kind of pervs out over like who like boys kissing other boys.
Okay, 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 okay. Um, a couple thoughts about that. I have a couple of things to say about that. The first is, go for it, do it. Se- since coming out as trans, I am now a woman who fascinates about boys kissing.
Yeah.
Um, so I mean, just on that point, um, but also like you can be a boy about it.
Uh-huh.
If you're a if you're if you think you're a woman right now and you're just like something about these boys kissing feels right to me and I would like to participate in that, like to the point where you're like obsessing about it, you can be a boy. Like you are allowed to be a boy about it.
Fujo Force
Um
Mask is so fucking hot. And not even Force
right,
Mask.
yeah.
Masculinization is so fucking hot.
Right, yeah. Like be a
Yeah.
boy about it. That's what I got to say about it.
Be a boy
Um
about it.
yeah, in the same way that like I want people I wish people had told me like that sounds rough. You should just become a girl about it, like 10
Yeah.
years ago. And if I'm
Me
being
too.
honest, Adira Slattery did tell me that in like 2016 or 2019 at Big Bad Con.
Hell yeah.
Uh, yeah, I don't know. Number two. What's the number two question? Which I
Number
don't
two,
feel qualified to answer, but
care to speak upon the unspoken homoeroticism in the OSR?
yeah, I know a very little about the OSR. It's kind of like a gap in my TTRPG knowledge. I think it started out as just like the stupid feud between story games and OSR, which
Uh,
is two different ways to say the same thing. They just like go about it different. It mods versus rockers is how I compare story games and OSR, as they're doing kind of similar things at the end of the day. Uh, so I don't know too much about that, but I what I do know about it is very fun.
yeah,
Uh,
it's pretty funny.
so John Harness, hopefully friend of the show, but also person who coined the phrase lyric games. Um,
Not yet.
when I first met John Harness, it was in like 2016 at GeeklyCon, um, and he filled in for Darcy Ross, who was going to play a game called Bugfuck, which is written by Ara Bell.
Oh.
And it was a game about a bunch of like insects meeting up at a bar and trying to get laid before they die. Um, she couldn't make it, but she texted me like before the game was supposed to happen and said like, "Hey, my friend John is going to come and take my spot. He's great. I vouch for him." And so this total stranger who I had never met before, um, just like showed up and role played with full abandon this like weird caterpillar who just wanted to like spray silk on everyone. I don't know. It was great.
Good.
After that, he told me about the OSR game that he had just finished wrapping up, which I believe he himself wrote, and it was called The Legend of Tom Cruise's Thighs. And if you I it was some OSR dungeon crawl. John, I'm so sorry. I don't remember the name of anything. Um but it was some OSR crawl, and he had written it inspired by the 1985 film called Legend, um, which is one of Tom Cruise's first roles. He's like this tiny little like forest twink. He has the shortest shorts on, and he's constantly crouching. So like the entire movie, you just like face to face with his
You
bulge
see the
and
outline.
also his
Yeah.
thighs. Oh, you can't help but see the outline. Um, and also for some reason in that movie, everything is covered with glitter.
Yeah.
It's so good. Yeah, House of Dreams in chat. I love Legend. It's a movie that I watch time and time again. The best way to watch it is at 3 in the morning, so that you're never really sure like what is you kind of like fading into the dream realm and what is actually in the movie.
Right. That tracks.
Um, but yeah, so he told me about the Legend of Tom Cruise's Thighs, which is like a bunch of OSR like meat shields trumpeting through this glitter dungeon so that you can go and make out with Tom Cruise's thighs.
Very cool.
So
Sorry.
that's homoeroticism in the OSR.
Natalie Pudim, a friend of the show, just sent me a website with a bunch of clothing that just has like pervert in scratchy text written all over it. And it's
Ooh,
really good. And I'm just gonna put this in chat. Give this a look.
please.
Yeah, that makes sense. To me, the homoeroticism of OSR is about the dwarf and the elf thing, where it's like they hate each other so much, but like
Mm.
that's just about like really wanting to fuck each other. That's like bears and twinks really wanting to fuck each other bad style.
It's a tale as old as time. Gilgamesh and Enkidu, friend.
Yeah. Absolutely. Uh, so true. So
Hold
that's
on,
my thought on that.
I'm sending my husband this this website.
Yeah, I need to look more through this website just generally, but like the fucking pervert bikini is pretty tempting. $60
I,
pervert bikini.
this is gonna be my first ever sports bra. Is this pervert sports bra?
Yeah, it's really good. Christ. Alright. I can't look at this. I spent like so much fucking money on groceries today because I was a little bit manic. So I bought so many fucking cans of shit. It wasn't good. I shouldn't have
Oh,
done it. It's okay.
listen, never feel bad about spending money on two things. One is food, and the second is your friends.
True. True, true, true. And the third is
The third is rent, unfortunately.
rent, yeah. Fourth is tabletop role playing games. I
Yeah.
don't know. Um alright. Well
People
I
talking about Tim Curry and Legend. Yeah, iconic.
Oh wait, here we
He
go. We have
somehow
a
manages to be mother.
I see. We have a question. Lee, in a past year, you stated that your New Year's resolution was to smoke weed and masturbate more. Would you say you've accomplished that resolution? That feels like a personal question. I'll let you answer that if you want to.
This is a very public question, actually. So
Okay.
on social media or whatever, like during New Year's, everyone's like, "Oh, here's my New Year's resolution. In
Uh-huh.
2023, I want to buy a Jeep." Um, so I would have different resolutions, and uh, the year that this person was like harassing me on Kickstarter, I eventually was just like kind of going through it and unfortunately posting through it.
Uh-huh.
Um, and I was like, you know what? Fuck it. My New Year's resolution is to do less. I think Merritt K on Twitter was posting like your New Year's resolution should be to like fucking take a shit or something. Like have a nice dinner and watch a movie. Um, and so I just like offhandedly tweeted, my New Year's resolution is to, it's not masturbate. There's a difference between masturbating and jacking off. I said specifically, my New Year's resolution is to smoke more weed and jack off more.
Uh-huh.
Um, Both of those things are things that I really enjoy and have been doing quite a lot lately. So yeah, I feel like I accomplished that.
Good. I'm glad you're
Maybe
smoking weed and jerking off.
yeah, a little bit less on the second one since coming out, just because like I have to find new ways of doing that. And trying to be like aware of the dysphoric feelings of like I don't know, navigating complicated sexuality in a world where bodies don't necessarily do the things that you want them to do.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. No, me and listen. That shit don't work anymore. Is all I'll say. Uh yeah. Right. Well, I think this might be a good time to wrap her up. Do you have
Hell
anything you
yeah.
want to direct folks towards before we end the stream?
Yeah, I would love for folks to educate themselves about. Here's another piece of nerdy, whatever it is that I can't stop thinking about all the time. Um, the Comprehensive Environmental Remediation, Cleanup, and Liability Act,
Oh.
also known as CERCLA, and the Comprehensive Environmental Remediation, Cleanup, and Liability Act, or CERCLA, is a way of providing community support and financial support to remediating toxic spills or environmental hazards caused by polluters. It was enacted, I think, in the late 70s, I want to say. Um, but it is pitifully underfunded, and even worse, it is almost never talked about at any sort of like legislative level or community level that I've seen. And I
Damn.
can almost guarantee you that if you live in any sort of metropolitan or suburban area, you live within walking distance of a Superfund site. And that's not super fun. There's a D on the end of that.
Uh-huh.
Um, and so the thing that I want you to take a look at, it's not necessarily tabletop related, but if you just Google whatever city you live in, and it's one word, SUPERFUND, um, just figure out where it is and who made it the way that it is. and then think about how you can annoy and harass your elected officials until they do something about it. Because a lot of these places just kind of languish in either the urban or suburban sprawl. They could be funded to provide community infrastructure to remediate public spaces. The one that I live the closest to is the Pig's Eye landfill, which was polluted in 1972 when 3M and the city of St. Paul dumped a bunch of polyfluoroalkyline substances into the Mississippi River.
Christ.
In 2018, 3M settled with the city of Maplewood for something like $30 million. I think it is still the largest environmental settlement that has ever happened in the United States, and it addresses maybe 1% of the problem that the city of Maplewood is now facing in terms of how to make their drinking water safe for the people that live it. So on that great note, think about that. I will say there's a fun part to talk about in terms of the Pig's Eye landfill in 1991, I want to say. An installation artist named Mel Chin, it's MEL space CHIN, installed a phytoremediation art installation
Oh, that's fun.
with Jimson weed, where he established like a walking garden with this plant that can uptake a lot of like zinc and heavy metals, and then was able to harvest all of that plant and refine the ore to make a saleable product. So 1991 made a fun garden installation project and a proof of concept for a remediation technique and technology that is still not being used to its full potential. So that's what I want you to take a look at, everyone.
I see. By the same token, if you live on Long Island, figure out how much 1,4-dioxane is in your particular well. Uh, if you live around Stony Brook, it's probably lower because they have an experimental treatment, but it's a carcinogen. Anyways,
Yeah, on that great note, have a great night.
Have a great night, everybody. Bye. We're gonna raid my friend Casey, who's playing Remnant 2. Really good game. Goodbye, everyone.
Remember, if you don't like what you see, you can change it. It's up to you, really. Goodbye, good luck, and have fun.